Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by freshman on the Princeton women's hockey team, Katherine Khramstov. Katherine, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and how's everything going?
Everything's great. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
We're excited to have you on. I might as well just call you a sophomore at this point. Is that official, or do you still want to consider yourself a freshman until your first day of class next year or this August?
No, sophomore. I like sophomore. Yes,
All right,
sophomore.
all right. Well, how has your off season been going so far? And do you have anything fun planned, or whether it's hockey related or not?
My off season has been great. It's been pretty structured. I've been practicing. Took a trip to Italy with my family, which was phenomenal. We visited Lake Como, Milan, Florence, and Rome, and it was beautiful to learn the culture and the history. But in terms of hockey, I have been training with local boys and who play juniors. As I grew up in Maryland, some of those boys were my teammates. So just coming back on the ice with them is absolutely amazing. I'll be taking a summer math class starting Monday, unfortunately, in order just to get ahead at school and as well as in other classes. I'll be trying to get ahead in the summer in order to fully, as well as hockey, focus on school and academics during the season. Currently in Maine right now for the 4th of July, which has been wonderful by the lake. But yeah, it's just going to be a structured summer, just training, working at a local restaurant, and then, yeah.
Well, it's good that you're getting that math class during the summer because it's, in my opinion, the toughest subject. So I want to be full focus on math during the summer. Don't have to worry too much about hockey. And then once the class is over, you can start focusing on hockey. It's easier to balance, I feel like, other classes that aren't math with hockey, just because it's such a tough and challenging subject.
Absolutely, yeah. Math took the best of me at freshman year, so it's better to do it in the summer. So that is exactly my train of thought.
Is this your last one you have to take, and then you're done with that gen ed course?
No, I have one more math that I will be taking in the fall, and then I'm done with my math classes at Princeton, hopefully.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that you're having a good summer. What part of Italy would you recommend people visiting since you visited all over the place? I heard Rome is pretty awesome.
Rome is great, but it's hot and there's a lot of tourists right now. Just standing in the line for the Colosseum was under the sun was very hot, but I would recommend Lake Como and Florence. I thought that Florence wasn't very touristy and that Lake Como was absolutely the most beautiful place I've seen. It's the lake and just the beautiful houses. So I would recommend Lake Como and Florence.
And I was reading up about yourself. You did an internship in DC this past summer. How is this summer sort of compared to last summer? Because it seems like you're always busy doing something.
So yeah, after high school, I went to an all girls Catholic high school, and part of our senior kind of assignment task was to have an internship. So I interned at the DC bar, which with a prosecutor, and she was absolutely phenomenal. I worked with her for close to a month towards the end of my senior year. I don't want to go into law, which I'm very happy that internship gave me the opportunity to figure out that law is not for me. But this summer I don't have an internship. Just just happy to be home,
Mhm.
just working at a local restaurant. But I think in the future, absolutely next year I will have to get an internship. Yeah.
Well, in regards to training, what's something that you want to work on the most for the upcoming season?
Speed. I think speed is my top priority. I think the speed in college hockey is much faster than club. And so in order to achieve becoming faster, I've been working with power skating coaches. I mean, one of the for the Washington Capitals development, she is their power skating coach. So I've been working with her and she's absolutely amazing, except she picks apart every single technique that you have and just reteaches you how to skate. But that's exactly what I would want for the upcoming season. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I hope that you're the fastest player on the Princeton women's hockey team next year. When I watch you guys play.
That's
But
the goal.
I want to transition now and talk about the beginning of your career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So obviously, like you mentioned, you're from Maryland. So talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey? Because Maryland doesn't seem like a hockey hub, at least to me, being from New England. But maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right. Maryland is not a hockey hub, but we do produce, I think that our area has produced good players in the past couple of years. So I started with following my brother's footsteps. My brother's 4 years older, and my parents decided to put him into hockey. And naturally, I wanted to be like him and do everything he did. So I followed. I started much younger than him. So I probably started when I was 5, started skating. And then I transitioned to playing boys. So I played boys till second year Bantam. So I played double A boys for Montgomery Blue Devils, and then I played triple A boys for Team Maryland. It was triple A hockey. It was great. So I played with them for 3 years. But after that, I went to Penn State. But I think that just growing up in Maryland and playing hockey there is very special because all the players know that, I mean, we don't have like boarding schools around us. So I think that like our teams are pretty strong when they're like very young. So, and some of my past teammates in Maryland have been some of my best friends. So I loved growing up in Maryland and playing hockey there. And it's special that you play hockey. Everyone plays lacrosse, but then it's like, oh, you play hockey. So it's
Yeah.
special.
Who was your favorite player growing up? If I had to guess, probably Alex Ovechkin, since you're in the DC area, but maybe I'm wrong.
Uh, you're pretty much hit the nail on the head. Besides Ovechkin, I would say Kuznetsov. I think that Ovechkin's the greatest goal scorer, but I think coaches don't want me to like him as much because all he does is have a wicked one-timer. So I would say Yevgeny Kuznetsov because of his like decision making. He's so deceptive and creative, and I think I've also got the opportunity to meet him. So I spoke in Russian with him. I'm Russian, my family. It's my Russian heritage. So we spoke together in Russian, and his personality is so fun, and his celebrations are amazing. So I would say Evgeny Kuznetsov.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. And I think Ovechkin, I feel like everyone obviously talks about his one-timer, but I think he's a much better skater than people give him credit for.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree. I think that he's a good player, especially when he was young. He's beyond skilled, but he's not just a goal scorer, in my opinion. Yeah.
I like one of my favorite Ovechkin highlights is the hit he had on Subban, where Subban tried to rock him. And I think he forgot how like tough Ovechkin is. And he like pretty much fell over. It's the funny one of the funniest hockey clips I've seen in a while.
Ovechkin is massive. I mean, the compilations of him absolutely hitting people and decking is it's always fun to watch them. Yeah. He's
Have
huge.
you met Ovechkin before?
I have met him twice.
What's he
Yes.
like in person? Because he seems like the funniest guy ever.
He's so funny. He's so amazing. I got to ask him questions. So it was through Russian school. So I took Russian school classes on Saturdays, and my Russian school got to meet all the Russian Washington Capitals players. And they're all of them are so funny. And he loves to joke around with Kuznetsov and tease them. And he's a great personality. Yeah.
So you got to talk to him in Russian too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm trying to think of the other Russian players in Washington Capitals history. Samsonov. I don't know if he was there when if you met him or not.
He was there as well as Dmitry Orlov was there.
Oh, nice. I'm a big Bruins fan. It was fun watching him for like half the season. Unfortunately, going to Carolina, but good
Yeah.
player though. I think a lot of people underrate him.
He's a great defenseman. Absolutely. It was sad. It was heartbreaking when he went to the Bruins.
But what did you tell Ovechkin in Russian? I'm just curious about that.
What did I ask him? Hmm. I think I asked him because he played for the Russian national team, and I asked him what is the most important component that takes you to that next level. So that's what I asked him in Russian. Yeah, I do remember.
What did he do? You remember what he said?
I feel like I should remember what Alexander Ovechkin told me, but I don't think so, no, sadly.
That's awesome. I think everyone had you obviously remember the Crosby Ovechkin rivalry. And a lot of my friends were Crosby guys, and I feel like I was like the only OV guy. So I'm good. It's good whenever I meet another OV person. It's like it makes me happy because I feel like a lot of people are more Crosby guys. At
More people.
least, unless especially the people I've interviewed on this podcast.
I'm so happy to hear that you're an Ovechkin stan.
Hmm.
Hopefully, he beats Gretzky's record.
I
I'm,
hope he
I'm
does too because I want to see that. It's like I feel like I've never really witnessed any historical hockey moments, and I feel like that would definitely be one of them. And I could tell my kids that I saw Ovechkin break his record, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he beat Gordie Howe. So when he beat Gordie Howe, I was at that game, and they like returned the tickets to us just so we could frame them. So, oh, I'm counting down his goals.
I think. Do you think he does it?
Does what?
Do you think he eventually breaks Wayne Gretzky's record? Because I feel like he has to maintain like 50 goals in like 4 years, and he's starting again in his 40s, which I feel like might be tough.
I think he's going to do it. I don't
I
think he's going to leave the NHL without achieving it.
I think he does do it, but I think he does it later than people expect. He's gonna be like in his mid 40s and finally gets it done because he stays like an extra year just to do it, which would be pretty awesome to see.
He would absolutely take a year or two extra to achieve it. I know he wants to. Yeah. Especially if you're this close.
Now we do have to talk about your career because that's why you're on the podcast. But so you obviously played on a bunch of different teams before heading off to college. But you started off your women's career pretty much with Penn's Elite. So my question is, what made the transition to go from boys hockey to girls hockey, and how did you get the opportunity to play for Penn's Elite?
So in Bantams, I played both AAA boys as well as Penn's Elite. So that was a very challenging year for my dad. He had to travel everywhere, lots of hotels and traveling. But I think that I made the transition in order to gain college exposure. I didn't gain college exposure playing boys. I mean, girls, women's college coaches don't come to those games. So I went to a girls' camp, and this uh very figure, Kathy Pippi. She's very I'm
The
not sure if
godmother, that's what I call her.
exactly. Exactly. She helped me tremendously in my college exposure and getting me to Pennsylvania. So she was a very fabulous person to help my family and I with that. So she kind of made the transition to Pennsylvania. Her advice is always right, I would say. She's always right. So that was a decision. I loved Pennsylvania. I played there for 4 years, but I mean the first year with playing AAA boys was I would have a Pensley tournament in Boston and AAA boys in Boston. There was one day where I played 4 games, and it was ridiculously hard, but it was absolutely necessary. So that's how I kind of got into Pensley. Yeah.
We'll talk about your Penn's Elite hockey experience and what you just took away from it when you look back on it now.
Yeah, I love the organization. I love my 4 years at Pensley. I think that U14 my first year, so I joined my first year U14. It was different being in a locker room with girls. It was very different than being in a crazy locker room with boys. So I think that the camaraderie we had at Penn State was very unique. And then from that U14 team, we went to second year U14, and that's when we won a national championship in California. And that's any club team's goal. And achieving that in sunny California was absolutely amazing. I think that the components of like coaching, how close we were on and off the ice, and as well as the depth that our team had, I think that every single player knew their role, and we just had such a successful season on and off the ice, and we were all friends. And I think that's what made not only that year but all 4 years at Penn State so special, because some of the girls are one of my greatest friends. So, and I think that the organization, I was a tournament player for Penn State, so they allowed me to go to the games, and I would practice at home. So that was also sometimes difficult to find practice at home. But I think that Penn State was very lenient, and they were an absolutely wonderful organization to be a part of.
Now, during your time with Penn's Elite, you had to deal with a lot of challenges, mainly due to the pandemic. I feel like your class had to deal with it the worst just because it was right smack dab in the middle of like your big development years, like your sophomore and junior year of high school. So my question is, how did you handle that challenge, and how did you make you a better player when you're trying to when you were trying to improve your game during that time? How do you think it made you a better player when you were dealing with all the adversities of less playing time, obviously not a lot of fans in the stands, but also just sort of the restrictions that you had to deal with?
Yeah, so I think obviously the ranks were shut down and everything. I think some of the challenges was just stepping foot on ice was a huge component that everyone was lacking. So in order to battle that, my dad, who I'd say is my number one support in hockey, drove me to North Carolina just for a public skate. That would be unimaginable, but and during the pandemic, I guess those were the measures that you had to take. But as well as I think that I purchased rollerblades, and I innovated my garage where I had a net, stick handling. And I think that it taught me that you can succeed and develop by yourself. You don't have to step foot on the ice just to become a better player. There's so many areas you can improve on by yourself, and not even in hockey, but just taking the time to practice yourself and just working on a certain skill during the pandemic allowed me to when I returned on the ice to become better. So I think that translated that each person had to like put in their own work and dedication. And then in the end, it's figure out who put in that work and who didn't. So I think that taught me that you have to like put in your own work and practice in order to succeed. Yeah.
Now, you then went on to play for the Philadelphia Junior Flyers. What led you to make that transition and go from Pennsylvania to there?
I think it was so Philadelphia Junior Flyers had such an eager and wonderful coaching staff. And I think it was also as well as closer to my house. Philadelphia is only 2 hours from my house. So that was a um, big component of my senior year of high school. And as well as I think it was the best opportunity for my skill development before entering college. I think that some of the awesome players were joining that team and their coaching staff was absolutely wonderful. So I joined their team and I absolutely enjoyed it all year long. It was great.
So you're a Caps fan, but you played for the Penguins and Flyers before college. It's pretty crazy to think about.
It's disappointing. It's disappointing that I wore a Pens jersey.
Yeah.
It was tough. I had to embrace it sadly,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, stepping into Lemieux, I mean, you'd see Sidney Crosby practicing and just be like, wish I was watching Ovechkin, but
Yeah.
it's it was tough. But yeah, I got over it.
Crosby's a good dude, though. From what I've never met him, but everyone says he's a nice guy.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. I've never met him before, but from people that have, they said that he's an incredible human being. So I'll give him that
I would absolutely love to meet him.
too. Same.
Who wouldn't want to meet such a great player? And I think he seems nice in his. He doesn't seem nice in the Caps combination videos, but
Yeah.
it's the Caps.
Well, I will say I think he's a better playmaker than Ovechkin. Like he can really set up plays, and his vision on the ice, I think, is the best I've ever seen. So I think that's what separates him from Ovechkin. But I think Ovechkin has a better shot and is a better pure goal scorer than Crosby.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely.
What's the best memory you have with the Junior Flyers?
Best memory was perhaps our last tournament. It was the Nationals. It was our last tournament. And although we lost in the national championship game, but I think that it wasn't how far we made it in the tournament. I think that it was the experience, and it was also my last tournament playing club hockey. I think that like since being 6 years old, you go to hotels, you drive with your parents, you drive with your dad, you stay in the hotel with your dad, and that was my last tournament playing for club. So that was very sentimental, and it was a wonderful tournament. We were undefeated, and we would come back to the hotel and we would hang out together, and then everyone was on the exact same page in terms of our goal there. So it was wonderful to see after progressing an entire year how each player was so kind of dialed in to have the same goal of winning the national championship. Sadly, the Little Caesars won, but that was one of the greatest tournaments I've had, and it was my last one. So that's what made it special and was the best memory with Junior Flyers.
You did win one though with Penn's Elite, so at least you don't get to say that you never won one before heading off to college.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was can't go my club hockey career has been absolutely awesome. Yeah.
And how do those experiences help prepare you for college? Obviously, you're traveling around a lot. That's something you do in college. You're probably balancing both hockey and academics. That's also something you do in college. And just also you're playing with and against the other Division One commits. So when you sort of make that transition, you sort of know what it's like playing against those type of players. So at least from my perspective as an outsider, that's probably how it prepared you. But is there any other thing that I might be missing that how it helped prepared you for the collegiate level once you made that transition?
I would say just playing with various players. Pensley brought in girls from Canada. They brought in girls from different parts of the country, and so did Junior Flyers. And I think that it pretty much the team changed. And Pensley didn't change quite often, but for example, joining Junior Flyers, I think that playing with various players and seeing what skill they bring is very crucial to understand and then kind of know your role. And that translated to college hockey, where I've never played with any of these girls. They're from different, we had girls from Sweden, Canada, and just having the ability to like play with different players that bring in different skills is very important, as well as being coachable. I mean, in your career, you have different coaches, and to be coachable is very important. And in college hockey, you're taught different techniques, different plays, and you have to be coachable in order to kind of succeed and to bring something to the team.
And you get to be coached by one of the best college hockey coaches, in my opinion. And Coach Karamori, I think she's the best, one of the nicest people ever as well. So I'll give her a shout out because I'm pretty sure she's going to be listening to this. But what's it like being coached by her?
Absolutely fantastic. It is, she brings energy every single day on the bus, off the bus, on the ice. She is absolutely great personality. I think that even in my recruitment process, I don't think there's a different coach that I would want to play for. And I think that she was a huge selling point of coming to Princeton because I wanted to be coached by her. And even listening to her speeches that she brings, she is so passionate and so 100% into the Princeton women's ice hockey program. And her practices are hard. They're grueling, but they're also fun. And her off the ice is also a very important component. She's not just a coach, she's also a great mentor and figure to be around every single day in college is something very special. And there's just no other coach I would want in my college career.
Well, what was your recruiting process like with Princeton? What made you want to go there for some of the schools you might have looked at?
My recruitment process started pretty early. It was before the rules changed. So I committed freshman year of high school, which is it's quite early. But I had a great recruitment process. I'm very grateful for the other schools. And it was obviously a tough choice, but I think that Princeton, aside from the high level of hockey and the drive to win, I think it was the academics. Academics is something that I highly value, and Princeton is very academically rigorous. And I think that the opportunity to do both is what I wanted in my college experience, as well as I think it's one of the most beautiful campuses there is. It's biased to say, but I absolutely think that is the case. But I think that high level academics and hockey and the perfect balance of that is what sold me on the coaching staff as well.
How do you sort of balance academics and hockey? Because obviously going to an Ivy League school, it's a lot different than what most college hockey players experience just because the workload is a lot more intense, but it's also a lot more just work in general. So how do you sort of learn to balance that during the season?
It's quite different than middle school and high school where you can finish a paper in the car and then call it a day. It took a lot. You have to seek help. I think that some people have difficulty, including myself, to seek help, but it's okay in college and in life to ask for help. It's important to have a direct line of communication with your coaches, professors, deans. That was very crucial. And seeking help, for example, Princeton offers great or like a program where you can get tutoring and like group tutoring, and then people help you with your work. And I think that it's always okay to ask for help. So, but also knowing how to study for a certain class and subject. That's very important with knowing your schedule, knowing when you have an exam or a paper due. So that was very crucial, as well as using the time on the bus. The bus after practice, it's homework, and you just have to figure out how to time manage. Yeah.
I don't know how you don't get car sick reading on the bus. That's something that I'm still trying to learn even now.
I don't read. That's why I do math. I
Uh,
never like to read, so I would do math problems on the bus if I needed to.
that's good. That's good. We should learn how to balance that too. Now let's talk about your this past season with Princeton. Obviously, you guys get to play in the ECAC, and I think a lot of people kind of consider the WCHA one of the best conferences in women's college hockey, but I would say the ECAC is up there. I would say it's definitely the most competitive because I think teams 1 through 8, anyone has a chance to win. And when I not just win a game, but like win the entire conference and make the tournament. I think it just shows you how much parity it is if you just look at the standings and how competitive it is. What's it like playing in the ECAC and just the competition you play every game? Playing teams like Quinnipiac, Colgate, Clarkson, like that's a grind every weekend to sort of have to play those teams, but it must prepare you very well when tournament time comes.
I think that you described it perfectly. It's beyond competitive. Every single team is strong. There's no off games. You just can't have them because every single team is very strong. It's close to impossible to absolutely blow out a team in the ECAC.
You
And
did with Quinnipiac though. You got not got in goal, so
that was a highlight. We beat them 11-3, and
yeah.
that was wonderful. Yes. That does happen on occasion when I don't know how that happened, but we played phenomenal that game. But competitive and as well it's fun. ECAC is very fun. I love being on the East Coast and then going to like Colgate where there's snow. So that's very fun. I think that seeing traveling along the East Coast is a great opportunity, and it's good, I think, that for the team that you always have to show like you have to show up for a battle with every single team. And I think that's important because if you play an easy team, you could potentially slack off. But in the ECAC, you don't have that opportunity to just slack off because every team is so strong. So I think that also makes your team much stronger.
What was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it the speed, like you're mentioning, sort of trying to work on that? But I feel like the physicality is something that really jumps out to me when I watch junior girls hockey versus college hockey. Like some of these women, they're throwing the body around much more than I would expect, especially when there's technically no body checking allowed. So how do you what was sort of like the biggest adjustment that you had to make to college hockey?
Exactly. Speed and physicality. I think that playing against seniors was, I mean, in club, you play against pretty much your age, but in college hockey, you play against 22-year-old seniors, 23 maybe. And the physicality they bring, it's hard to get the puck from them. So you have to transition your game also to become more physical in order to compete with the other team. So I think that, and the skill, I mean, or the speed. The first game I played, I was in shock. I came to the bench and it was just so fast and it was so tiring. So I think that practicing obviously made it better, but I think that just improving your speed is crucial because the game is fast.
Yeah, one of the things you guys got to do last year is you guys got to play in Nashville at this Nashville hockey tournament. How cool was it to participate in that, and what did you take away just from the experience going down south?
It was awesome. I love Nashville. Nashville, I've been there for tournaments in the past, and I think that it's such a fun city. And to go there freshman year with your closest teammates and your coaching staff was, I think that's an opportunity that not every single team obviously gets. So it's beyond grateful to have that. But it was just so fun. I mean, the atmosphere of the city, everyone is so excited. Everyone's wearing their cowboy hats and cowboy boots, and everyone wants to have fun, but also is so fun to play against a team like Northeastern that's not in the ECAC. I think that seeing how they play and how you would compete against them was also an experience that we absolutely loved. We beat Cornell in a shootout, and that was a very special moment for our team because I think that the entire team played amazing that game, from the goalie to every single player. It was just a truly team win, and to do it in Nashville, it was so special.
Did you guys do anything fun off the ice?
Oh yes, we went to the Grand Ole Opry. Yes,
Nice.
that was wonderful to hear. I think everyone went to Broadway Street to get cowboy hats and boots. And unfortunately, my dad did not want to buy me one. I already had some at home. So, but yeah, we went to Broadway Street, eat great barbecue, Grand Ole Opry. It was fantastic Thanksgiving break or fall break. Yeah.
Well, you guys had the best pregame outfits of probably the entire season in that Nashville trip. That was awesome. How'd you guys sort of come up with that? Because I know had to be coordination.
I think that majority of our team is just so stylish. We didn't even need coordination. I think that some of our players, I don't have the best
And
style.
coaches too. Like
Coaches,
Coach Moore was had one of the best style on the entire team as well.
absolutely. She wore her white boots to a game, and she was walking around the locker room with her boots, and she was on the bench. I think she was on the bench with her boots, and it was awesome. I think that everyone on our team, for the most part, is pretty stylish, but some players carry. Some players carry the style on the team.
You
That
had good style though. I will tell you that.
no, that's not my position. I wish I was a little more stylish, but
Hey, you
no.
made it on some of the CHT outfits of the weekend post, so I gotta give you the tip of the cap to that, because
Okay,
those are very hard to get in, get
there.
make it.
I will take that.
Well,
I
we'll
love it.
talk about style a little bit on the non-hockey segment, but getting back to sort of your season, what was sort of the biggest improvement that you made to your game from the start of your freshman year to the end of your season in February?
I think that decision making and hockey IQ kind of improved. I think that as well as since the speed is getting much faster, it's not like club hockey where you can just carry and take the puck and perhaps score or make a pass towards the end and then have success. You can't do it by yourself in college hockey. It's not possible. So that was something I had to improve on. I think I personally did improve on was finding the next play, looking up, picking my head up, and rather than skating it by yourself, moving it forward. And I think that is something that I still have 3 years to improve on, but that was something, a skill that I needed to get better at freshman year. And I think that that did improve over the time. Yeah.
Now, talk about your team's performance this past season and just sort of what you took away from it, because I thought you guys played very well for the majority of the year last year. I thought you guys were a really strong team. I feel like, just sometimes the puck doesn't bounce your way sometimes, and I feel like you guys had some bad puck luck throughout during certain games. But I think there was a lot of growth with some of your players in regards to improvements. Like I thought every player really took a step forward, and I think that's definitely something to sort of very important thing to do for next season in regards to sort of thinking about your goals and expectations.
Yes, absolutely. We did not have the best puck luck. That is true. We had a little bit of a slow start. I think that our team was extremely skilled. We had phenomenal players and everyone was on the same page, but I think that we just had a bit of a slow start and that kind of caught up to us in the end. We picked it up towards the end where we beat Quinnipiac. We played very well against Colgate, and perhaps we could have won that series. Sadly, we didn't. But I think that it was, I think that everyone was on the same page, and it was a great team, and just learning from the seniors how they were such good role models, and that they would always tell us to treasure every single moment. And it's cliche, but it's absolutely true because I'll just never get to play with them again. So I think I absolutely loved my freshman year. I loved it. It was great. But I think the slow start and sometimes the puck luck did kind of hold us back from achieving our full potential.
Yeah, that's the worst when you play much better, you have such a good game, and just the puck doesn't bounce your way. That's hockey sometimes, but it's the worst feelings after a loss, knowing that you gave it everything you had and you still couldn't find a way to win. I feel like those are more brutal losses than getting blown out, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. It's yeah, you're in the locker room. It's tough. Like you should have you should have had the different result, but it's just not there.
Hmm.
And it's beyond frustrating. Yes.
And you just sort of have to learn to sort of try to move on from it because you have a game coming up either the next night or the next weekend. And if you just continue to dwell on it, then it's going to affect you for the next game. So it's sort of working that mental game, I think, is important that I think a lot of players don't really talk about, but it's something that I've been trying to learn as well.
Yes, I think the mental aspect towards any sport is crucial. And that was very important with our team. And I mean, with if facing a loss that shouldn't have happened, you have to take it, learn from it, but then erase it and then start practice on Monday with a new slate.
Now, one cool thing about your team is you get to play in one of the oldest rinks in college hockey in Hobie Baker. What's it like playing at that rink, and just talk about the 100-year anniversary when the Stanley Cup showed up?
It was so special having such deep, rich history every single day when you come into this rink is absolutely fantastic. It just shows you what Princeton hockey is about. You see the players hanging up on the wall. Hobie, who was a player, is we have a statue of him, and it's just getting the opportunity to play for such a deep history of players and the program is so special. And of course, having Hobie Baker 100 weekend, there's so many alumni who are so passionate about Princeton women's hockey, Princeton men's hockey as well. And I think that just the atmosphere during that weekend was so special, and it also translates to the rink. I mean, it's beautiful in stone, and it just shows what not only how deep Princeton's hockey is, but also the campus that it truly values hockey and our beautiful facility.
What are your team's goals and expectations for next season?
Win a national championship. I think that's the goal, of course, but I think that having a better start. It's in a disadvantage that Ivies have getting as like when you play your first game, some teams already have played a couple games. It's a disadvantage, but I think that having a wonderful start in the beginning of the season will translate all the way towards the end to achieve our goals to win a national championship.
I have your schedule up. Who's your first team that you play next season? Because I know you guys announced your schedule a few weeks ago.
I feel like I should know this, but I don't. Oh, it's RMU. It's RMU. Yes, it's non-league. Yeah, but
That's their
it's not.
first game back too. Is it?
Yes,
Or that's pretty
yes.
awesome.
That is going to be very exciting. Yeah, it's RMU for sure
Is it at Princeton or in Pittsburgh?
at Princeton.
Oh, I was gonna say if it was at Pittsburgh, that's kind of a homecoming for you. Or you
Eh,
never played there.
yeah, I'm a DC stan. I love Maryland,
Hmm.
Virginia, DC.
Yeah.
So that's just I bleed Washington Capitals forever.